Level 5 Diploma in Education and Training. Unit B, Developing Teaching, Learning and Assessment in Education and Training. Enhanced Limited Copyright 2019. Pedagogical Principles. Following pedagogical principles helps to create an engaging and challenging learning environment for students to achieve their full potential of learning. Examples of pedagogical principles are: maximum academic challenging of students, collaboration and interaction in the learning process, engagement and motivation of the students, enabling diversity in learning capabilities and preferences and meeting the students' requirements for flexibility in time and space, support and development of the academic socialization of students, personal development and integrity, creative approaches. Beulah. There's nothing worse than a boring lesson. As the teacher, you are responsible for getting your learners excited and enthusiastic about your subject. The best way to do this is to use a range of creative and innovative approaches that will engage your learners effectively. Remember you should be aiming to appeal to each learning style preference, and using a range of different teaching and learning approaches goes a long way towards this. Ensuring that you do this can be a great first step towards being a fantastic teacher that your learners look forward to being taught by. Being creative. Classes don't have to be straightforward lecture-style sessions. Immersing learners in the subject is the best way for them to receive and retain information, as it makes it more memorable and allows them to explore ideas in a dynamic and exciting way. Dave is teaching a numeracy lesson on shape. He brings in lots of different shaped packets, including a cereal box, a poster tube and Toblerone packaging. When taken apart, the packaging can be used to demonstrate how nets work to make 3D shapes. The class are then split into groups, given some cardboard and tasked with creating their own 3D shapes. Shafiq's school have recently acquired a VR headset. He takes small groups aside throughout the week to focus on a science project. The VR headset allows each child to enter a simulated environment and explore different climates, such as the Great Barrier Reef. This gives the children the opportunity to think more deeply about their topic and become excited about learning, whilst also meeting the needs of visual learners. Initial assessment. Initial assessment has 4 main aims. To ensure that the students are on the right course. To identify any special educational needs/adjustments to be made. To inform learners of their current ability and what they need to develop. To inform your own planning in terms of both the group and individual ability of your learners. Initial assessment should occur before the course begins so that all 4 aims can be achieved. If adjustments need to be made, they can be accounted for in good time. Diagnostic assessment. The purpose of diagnostic assessment is to inform both the teacher and learner of the current skill level/ability of the learner in addition to any current and future needs that may need to be arranged. Diagnostic assessment is a useful tool when planning sessions and schemes of work, as it allows you to be sure that you are providing all learners with an equal opportunity to achieve. Schemes of work. A scheme of work is a plan which sets out the course content and how the skills will be learned, breaking them up into a timetable of delivery. The scheme of work helps in lesson planning, as it tells you where you are up to in terms of content delivery. When devising a scheme of work, ensure that the teaching order is logical and that you have allowed time for revision, assessment periods, holidays, and so on. Things you should include in a scheme of work. General information. Aims/objectives. Course content. The student group. Organizational factors. Assessment/evaluation methods. Example scheme of work, program, education and training workshops. Group composition. 3. Dates, 19th October, 2nd of November, 2018. Number of sessions, 3. Contact hours, 1.5 hours. Venue, branch, Leeds. Aim of program, to explore pedagogical principles. To improve teaching/training skills. To consider the importance of inclusivity within education and training. Dates, objectives, activities and resources, assessment. Session plans. A session plan, or lesson plan, is a written breakdown of the activities in an individual session. It will cover the time scheduling, teacher activities, student activities, and opportunities for assessment, as well as which resources will be used. Session plans allow the teacher to prepare and deliver a beneficial lesson to the class, and make sure that they have time for all the activities within it. Example session plan. Date: the 26th of October 2018. Time: 9 a.m. Duration: 30 minutes. Venue: Matrix House, Leeds. Course: Level 3 Award in Education and Training. Subject: Roles and responsibilities in education and training. Number of students: 3. Topics: Equality and diversity. Lesson aims: to understand the importance of equality and diversity within education and training. To understand how the role of the teacher/trainer relates to the promotion of equality and diversity. Do the students have prior knowledge? Yes, the learners have basic prior knowledge of this subject. Materials and equipment: PowerPoint presentation, whiteboard, handout, pens and spare paper. Assessment methods: informal verbal assessment, assignments set as homework. Timetable: you should also include a completed timetable with each session plan. This ensures that you know how the lesson will run and in what order. It will also remind you of what you need to prepare beforehand. Example timetable: time/stage, 9 o'clock to 9:05 a.m. Subject matter: introduction. Teacher activity: speaking. Learner activity: listening. Notes: use short PowerPoint presentation to introduce topic. Opportunities for learners to provide feedback. It is important to leave time for your learners to provide you with feedback. When you're the one delivering a session, it can sometimes be hard to tell what your learners found most beneficial and what was perhaps not so helpful. You should tailor the feedback opportunities to suit your group of learners. There are different ways to gain feedback, either formally or informally. Formal feedback: graded form, questionnaires, exit interviews. Informal feedback: asking verbally at the end of lessons, flashcard responses. Using theories, principles and models when planning inclusive teaching. It is important that teachers and trainers are able to apply theories to their own practice in order to continually develop within the role. First of all, you should read up on a range of different teaching and learning theories, making notes as you go. A really good introductory book on this topic is Bob Bates's Learning Theories Simplified. You should then think about how these theories can be applied to your own practice. How can you plan your lessons with these in mind? Theories and models of behavior management. Learner behavior is often one of the most daunting aspects of teaching. A lot of teachers feel threatened by poor behavior and see it as a direct attack on their role within the classroom. It is important to remember that there will be days where everything goes amazingly well and days where you will wish you stayed at home. This is normal and most people experience this. However, as the teacher, it is paramount that you remember that you are in charge, and you have just as many rights as your learners do. By understanding behavior management theories, we can take control when things aren't going so well and not allow it to get the better of us. We can also keep our own behavior in check. Lee and Marlene Cantor, Assertive Discipline. This theory emphasizes clear communication and assertive behavior in order to create the optimum teaching and learning environment. Cantor and Cantor promote the idea of reaching a mutual ground rules agreement in a democratic and cooperative way. Teachers have the right to establish classroom rules and procedures that are in their interests as well as those of their learners. Insist on reasonable levels of behavior by their learners. Expect support when imposing discipline or sanctions. Learners have the right to have teachers who will help them to limit their inappropriate behavior. Have teachers who will encourage them to display their appropriate behavior. Choose how to behave in full knowledge of the consequences of their actions. John Hattie, The Rope Model. Hattie's model explores the idea that learner motivation, ability to achieve and classroom behavior are directly influenced by how learners see themselves and what they perceive to be important regarding their learning and their desired outcomes. he brought together the separate strands of the structure of self-concept and the processes of self-concept under the metaphor of the rope. In the rope model, there is no single strand underlying an individual's self-concept, but instead many overlapping concepts of self, as seen in the graphic here. Jacob Cownin, Classroom Management. Reactions to learners. The signals that teachers give to their learners, including the ripple effect, where the teacher's reaction to an individual impacts on the wider group. Witness, where the teacher must be aware of what is going on and the learners are aware of the teacher's awareness. Overlapping, in which the teacher deals with two events simultaneously in the classroom. Movement management. The extent to which a lesson occurs without digressions, diversions or disruptions, including smoothness, where the lesson keeps moving and occurs without abrupt changes. Momentum, where the lesson retains an appropriate pace and progression throughout. Group focus. Keeping the whole class engaged and interested in the subject matter, including group alerting, where the whole group are actively engaged with the subject matter. Group accountability, where learners are made aware that their understanding of the subject matter will be tested. Sue Cowley, Getting the Bids to Behave. An expert in the field of behavior within education, Cowley has written many books on taking control in the classroom. Some of her advice includes: know the disciplinary system within your organization inside out. Make sure you feel confident in what is and isn't allowed. Be calm and consistent in your approach to discipline. Be clear and structured in what you expect from your learners and the consequences if these standards are not met. Once order has been established, use positive feedback to encourage your learners to stick to the rules. Show your learners that you are interested in them as people. Learn when it might be okay to bend or break rules. Be persistent. Further information. There is no universal solution to behavioral issues within a learning environment. However, as we have seen, there are a range of key theorists who have influenced the subject of discipline and behavior within education. Further theorists you may want to research include Fred Jones, Albert Bandura, Jean Piaget, Dan Willingham, Robert Hare. The learning environment. The learning environment is concerned with two levels: the way in which you have planned your lesson to be carried out, and the physical space in which the learning takes place. How can you create a positive learning environment? You should plan for the lesson to flow in a logical and consistent way, with content that is interesting and engaging for the learner. You should use a range of teaching and learning approaches to meet individual needs. You should provide positive feedback to all learners, encouraging them to join in and not feel afraid to share their ideas and opinions. You should think about the room layout and the activities that can be carried out depending on how tables are set, etc. You should make sure that the room is safe and comfortable for all learners. Ensuring safety. As mentioned on the previous slide, a safe environment refers to both the physical environment as well as the emotional. You should always inform your learners of important health and safety information, such as where the fire exits are located and what procedures should be followed in cases of emergency. You are also responsible for protecting the learners from harm to the best of your ability. For example, if one of your learners begins acting in a dangerous or violent manner, you should make decisions that will keep the rest of the learners safe, whilst also considering how to keep the individual causing the concern safe. Enhancing the learning environment. Demonstrate some nonverbal behaviors such as eye contact and facial expressions, enabling teachers to open the flow of communication and convey interest, concern, warmth and credibility. Gestures, as a lively and animated teaching style helps to capture the attention of your students. Humor, which is often overlooked as a teaching tool, but can relieve stresses for both the teacher and students, leading to a more effective learning environment. Build a strong classroom community by doing things like using pair work, as well as small group and whole class activities, as these help to build networks with others in the classroom. Providing students with opportunities to share about their backgrounds and cultures. Seeking to connect students with the greater community via things such as school trips and guest speakers. Build self-esteem and self-efficiency of students by ensuring students experience success at their first meeting so the first experience is a positive one. Accepting every individual student by respecting their values, even if they differ from your own. Believing in students and helping them to believe in themselves. Memorizing the names of students and using them to refer to individuals directly when speaking to them. Equality and diversity. It is important to create an inclusive environment when thinking about different religions, ethnicities and backgrounds. It is important that all members of staff, students and clients are comfortable. It is important to consider the following when thinking about equality and diversity. Different backgrounds, religions and cultures, and to challenge the stereotypes that surround them. To create ground rules in regards to language. Create a learning environment that is suitable and accessible for all users. The provision of resources that are suitable for all learners. Minimum core elements. It is important that all teachers have knowledge and understanding of the minimum core elements, those being literacy and language, numeracy, ICT and communication skills. These are skills that can be included in the teaching of other subjects so that not only will your learners receive a high standard of education, but they will also have the opportunity to improve their own proficiency in these areas. Ways of demonstrating the minimum core elements. Reading, writing, speaking, listening, checking spelling, grammar, punctuation and syntax within work. Carrying out calculations, interpretations, evaluations and measurements. Using e-learning activities, a virtual learning environment, VLE, emails, apps, videos, digital devices, software and programs. Model conversation skills, reinforce active listening, use tasks that foster critical thinking, model social behaviors. Theories and models of reflection. Reflection is the most effective way of assessing and making improvements to our own professional practice. It allows us to view ourselves objectively and identify what we do well and what may need some work. Reflection is not about attacking your way of working but instead about understanding what it means to be a great practitioner. Donald Shern, the reflective practitioner. Shern believed that reflection begins during practice, especially when faced with more challenging or conflicting situations, which he referred to as the swampy lowland messes. Whilst he saw reflection on action as important, Shern emphasized reflection in action as the core of professional artistry in which teachers learn to think on their feet and improvise. Reflection on action. The after-the-event thinking in which the teacher reviews, describes, analyzes and evaluates past practice for improvement. Reflection in action. The during-the-event thinking in which the teacher examines experiences and responses as they happen for the purpose of decision-making. Stephen Brookfield, Critical Lenses. Brookfield argues that, to be an outstanding teacher, you should constantly reflect on your own practice through 4 complementary lenses, shown opposite, so that you can look at your abilities from a variety of perspectives. However, be careful not to fall victim to imposter syndrome, in which individuals become self-effacing and feel unworthy of being a part of the profession. Be kind in your self-criticisms. Gilly Bolton, Looking Through the Mirror. Bolton says that anyone carrying out self-reflection will come across 3 paradoxes. To acquire confidence, you must let go of certainty. You get nowhere by looking for something when you don't know what it is. You achieve nothing by beginning to act when you don't know how you should act. She suggests that facing these paradoxes is essential for reflective practitioners and will help teachers to respect and have faith in themselves, trust in the reflective process and recognize that uncertainty is vital for learning and change to take place. David Kolb, Experiential Learning Cycle. Kolb saw learning as an integrated process in which each stage leads into the next. Naturally, reflection is a key part of this cycle, as it is only through reflecting on what has happened that we can note what needs to change and move on to improve our practice. No part of the cycle can function on its own. The cycle is as follows. Concrete experience. reflective observation, abstract conceptualization, active experimentation. Graham Gibbs, The Reflective Cycle. Gibbs' cycle helps us to understand our own practice more clearly by breaking it down into chunks and considering situations one step at a time. Start by describing the situation. Move on to think about how you felt about this and what prompted this response. You should then evaluate the situation as a whole and analyze the different aspects. What conclusions have you come to? And what actions will you take in similar situations in the future? Copy and paste this information when referencing to this document.